this is a step-by-step of a piece that I did for a book. Oh, I can't remember when, 6 months ago, something. Anyway, it didn't end up getting used for some reason. I can't remember why. Anyway, here we go. Let's talk about this. So this is the original pencil sketch you're looking at now. And what I was doing here, it's quite a simple sort of 2-point perspective. I've just tried to make it look a bit more complicated. So I've got, the sort of ship in the foreground on the left there. Then the monster is in the background a little bit, and a couple of characters around. And I was going to throw a load of shadows everywhere just to sort of beef it up a little bit. Also, the buildings in the back are all in ruins and everything. Just sort of you know what I mean. Nice big sort of slightly sort of cartoony, post-apocalyptic kind of thing, and using my sort of my traditional characters that I use. So this is the pencil sketch. There you go. Let's get on to the next one. And this one, you can see that I've started inking here. Now you can see that I've used a green outline. I actually used some Stabilo 88s for for me coloured outlines. I've used the green one there, and what that is I'm going to use, because that's a transparency there. That's the window to his little ship. So I'm going to use just greens to ink it and colour it after that. So that using that green outline will really make it look as if it's a transparency. It's always a good tip to use that. You can just use black if you want, but sometimes I use a variation as well. I'll use bits of the outline. I'll do the majority in green, and then bits of it I'll do in a darker color, maybe a darker green if I've got one, or a black if it's further back, or I want a deeper contrast or whatever. A bit of a heavier value in there. I'll do that. But yeah, as for the rest, you can see I've slightly, can you tell I've cheated the perspective? I cheated the perspective just because I wanted to kind of make the ship a bit more dynamic. So I slightly cheated it. But I don't know if you, maybe you can tell, maybe you can't. But yeah, at this point, I'm still sort of making decisions and all that kind of thing. So if we move on to the next one, now you can see I've inked the whole thing. Pretty much. Now the only stuff I've not inked is the big buildings in the very far background, and that's because I'm not going to put outlines on them. I'm just going to use them in colour, lighter colour, because I'm going to push them right into the background. They're just going to sort of provide a backdrop for the whole thing. You can see that the cute I've done also in a green outliner, and that's because I'm going to do that in green as well. It just makes it, it's just a really lovely thing to do when you using colours, because I'm going to use a very limited colour palette for this as well. You're going to see my colour palette's going to be really, really limited. I'm going to use greens, yellows and warm greys, and that's going to be it pretty much, I think. Or maybe a tiny bit of lilac in there as well. So at this stage you can see what I'm doing there. I'm pretty much inked. Yeah, pretty much. You can still see where some of the shadows are going to fall. I don't really often pencil in where shadows are going to fall and stuff. I sort of decide it when I get round to actually dropping colour on it. And finally, this is the colour version, and this is obviously finished, and you can see what I've done. I've got a big sort of secondary yellow light coming from the left hand side. I often drop in secondary light from the left hand side because I think it just looks nice, and everything else is inked. The further in the background you go, obviously now you can see the big buildings. They've got no outline on them, so they're pushed right into the back, and you can see what I mean by a limited colour palette as well. I've got greens, yellows, warm greys, tiny bit of lilac on the little bees' hats, and that's it. That is the lot. But But that's the step by step, guys. That's what it took. You got any questions? Drop them in the comments. I always like to hear them, try and answer them if I can. And yeah, if this was helpful, then please say so, and I'll do some more. I've done some in the past, but I never know how helpful these are. Is it more helpful to watch videos or step by steps? I know this isn't a massive step by step. There's only 4 steps to this one, but you know, if it is helpful, let me know. Cheers.